You're watching Adorama TV.
Hi everybody, welcome to Adorama TV Product Reviews. I'm Mark Wallace. Well, today I want to tell you about an awesome camera. It's called the Panasonic Lumix GX1. It's right here. Now this comes either with just the camera body, which is $700, or you can get it in a kit. And so there are a couple options. You can get it in a kit with a 14 to 42 millimeter lens or a 14 to 42 millimeter lens with power zoom. And so the lens and the body is $780. The lens and the body with power zoom is $950. And so power zoom is like a little motorized thing that allows you to zoom really smoothly, which is great if you're doing videos and you want that smooth zoom in. So that's what that helps you with. Now what I tested is this body, which is again the Lumix GX1 with a Lumix Vario 14 to 140 f4.0 to 5.8 lens. And this is a lens that we have in the studio, and I use it a lot with my AF100 video camera. And we got such great results. We wanted to see how this lens would work with this camera. I'm a portrait photographer, so I really wanted to see that. So this lens is $650. So together, the lens and the body, if you bought those separately, it would be $1,350. So there you have it. That's the camera and the lens that we used. Now, just right off the top, let me just tell you, I had a blast using this camera, and I was able to shoot very quickly. I was able to shoot in the studio with the studio flash, as well as out on location in natural light. And the thing I noticed was this camera and body was able to focus really fast, and I was able to shoot really fast. The focus was tack sharp, and it was so easy to pick this camera up and start using it. The menus were so obvious, and the modes were so easy to use. I didn't have to spend a lot of time looking through manuals or figuring out how to use this camera. I was able to turn it on, basically dial it in about, I don't know, 3 minutes maybe, and start shooting and just worry about pictures and posing and getting what I wanted to shoot. And I didn't have to worry about all the technical stuff, which is what I love about this camera. Now, specific about the technical stuff, because I know a lot of you want to know about that, this is a 16 megapixel camera. And it shoots not only stills, but it also shoots full HD video, and it records that in AVCHG format, which means that it's really easy to edit that video in Premiere or the new version of Final Cut, or see it in Lightroom 4, or use Windows Movie Maker or whatever. So AVCHD is awesome. Now the other thing I really liked about this is it's got a touch screen. So on the back, a lot of the menus and things that I'll show you in a little bit, you can just push on the screen to change those. In fact, you can push and focus and shoot all at the same time, which is really cool. This is a 3D capable camera. You'll need a 3D lens, but it's able to shoot 3D images. Now speaking of lenses, there are a lot of Lumix G lenses available. I think there's, we counted them as around 18 lenses around there. So a lot of different lenses, so it doesn't matter if you're shooting scenes or portraits or action stuff, there is a Lumix G lens that will work for you. And because this is a micro 4/3 camera, that means that there are even more options. So you can use any lens that's a micro 4/3 lens, or what you can do is you can buy one of these guys. So there are many different brands and makes and models of these, but this is called a lens adapter. So on one side, it's the micro 4/3 mount, and on the other side, it's whatever you purchase. So it could be a Nikon mount, or a Canon mount, or a Sony mount, or a Leica mount, or whatever lenses that you want to use. And so it's really easy to just take this guy off, put one of these guys on here. So once that goes on there like that, then you can take whatever lens that you have that fits that. In this case, it's a Nikon, and now you can use your Nikon lenses or your Canon lenses, etc. And so that gives you even more options if you've got some lenses that you absolutely love and don't want to live without. Just get an adapter, and then it's going to work on this camera just fine. Now you might have to shoot those in manual mode if the electronics don't go through, but for people that use adapters, that's something that you love and are used to. Now also, this shoots both RAW and JPEG, and you can do both of those at the same time. So again, if you're a scenic shooter or a portrait shooter and you want the control of RAW, or you're shooting weddings, something like that, you can do that with this camera. And if you need the speed of JPEG, well, you can do that as well, or you can shoot both at the same time, and then you get both of the benefits of all of that stuff. So let's talk about the testing. So I tested this mainly in the studio to see what kind of quality we could get out of that. And then I went outside and shot a few pictures outside, and I loved all of it. I'm sort of overflowing with joy about this camera because it was really a lot of fun to use. A couple of things that I did notice though was, even though this has a really high ISO value, so you can go up to about 12,800, in reality, anything over about ISO 800 I found that I just didn't like the noise. So really the effective working range is about ISO up to 800. Anything over that, you're going to have a lot of noise and artifacting, and you probably don't want that, but it's there if you need it for shooting in low light, a birthday party, something like that. You can do that. Now, the other thing I noticed is, I mentioned it before, but it was so fast and the autofocus was so fast that I was just sort of giddy when I was using this, and so the staff was making fun of me because I was like, wee, this is so fun. So it was a lot of fun using that, and I didn't have to wait for the camera to keep up with me. It was just really, really punchy and fast, and so I didn't have to think about, you know, is the card filling up or is this not responding? There wasn't any shutter lag. It was just click and go, which is really, really terrific. Well, I want to tell you again some of the different things about this, specifically the modes and how the back touchscreen works. Now, this has normal modes that I'm sure you're familiar with, and so there's full manual mode, there's shutter priority, aperture priority, program mode, and then there's some other modes here, scene files and some custom configurations. And so I want to show you those next. And the best way to do that is just to put this camera on a tripod so we can really dial in and look at the back of the screen. So let's do that right now. So let me show you how the touchscreen works on the back of this camera. If I push the green button right here, you can see that the last image I took shows up. And then if I want to, I can do different things by touching on the screen. So for example, if I want to see a thumbnail, I can click on this little thumbnail icon right here, and there's all the thumbnails, and then I can click on any one of these and it'll bring up a picture, or I can click on this one and it comes right back in. If I want to scroll to the previous image, I can just do that and it scrolls. I can scroll back as well. And then if I want to zoom in, I just touch the screen and it zooms in. Then I can also move this around by just holding my finger there, and you can see exactly what's going on. I can zoom out, which is really nice, or I can use this little wheel to zoom out. So this playback is really cool, and it allows me, the touchscreen in addition to the playback, allows me to totally control what's going on in the back of the screen, and it's really nice. Now in normal shooting mode, so I'll push the shutter release halfway, you can see this screen has all the information we need about the time and the date and what mode we're in. And I even get this little clue right here. You can see this little bouncing knob right there that says plus and minus. So if I change the mode and come back, you'll see that this little button has a little icon. And what it's telling me is, that's a clue to tell me how this mode button right here, this adjustment button here works. And so by turning it, I'm controlling one thing, but if I push it, then I'm controlling something else. And so to know what the push does, that's why when you change modes, you get this little indicator here that says when you push this, you're changing, for example, the aperture value, exposure compensation, and so it really helps you understand what this is doing. And I really like this dial because it not only allows me to change one thing, but by pushing, it changes how it works and I can change something else. So you don't have to have two dials here. It just does everything with one. And it's really, really cool. Well, we have some modes here. We have program mode, we have aperture priority mode, we have shutter priority mode, we have manual mode. And so we've got all those advanced modes that we're used to. We even have C1, which is a custom configuration 1 and 2, and so we can you can set up your camera however you want, maybe one for scenic and one for indoor portraits. Then there's another mode called scene mode, and this has built-in scenes. And so if you're a photographer who's just starting out and you want to take some pictures and not have to worry about how to set your camera, just go to scene mode, and you can choose the mode that works best for you. So we have portrait and soft skin and scenery and architecture and sports and all kinds of different things here that are built in. And once you have that, then you hit OK, and it's set up to shoot whatever you chose. Or you can go into this other mode, and this is called a creative control mode, and this gives you some modes here. So expressive, retro, high key and low key, and sepia, high dynamic range, the toy effect, and the miniature effect. So depending on what you want to do with your camera, if you want some additional controls, well, you've got that as well. Now on the left-hand side here, you'll notice that there are all kinds of different icons. There's a camera and a movie camera and a couple wrenches and some other things. So by going to the left-hand side, I can move up and down and make all kinds of changes to my shooting in still mode or my shooting in video mode, and then custom setups for things like what these different function buttons do or how the camera behaves, or setting up my custom configurations and how my beep is set up and setting the clock. All that kind of stuff you can do right from the menu, which is really nice. The other thing you can do here that I really, really like is there's a little button right here that allows you to push, and it pops out these little icons. And so, for example, this first one has a little hand with a button, and what that allows me to do is I can just push right on the screen and it focuses, which is cool. I can push this little icon up here, and now there's not an X by that, and now when I push, not only will it focus, but it'll take a picture, just like that. So you can, I'm telling you, it's really fast. You can just focus and shoot, which is really neat. I can pop that out and turn that off so I'm just focusing and not shooting. I can push this, and so I can change my depth of field. I can, this little icon here is really cool, so let me turn that off. And so when I turn this on, this is actually a horizon, so a virtual horizon. So as I'm tilting this, it's going right with me to tell me if my camera is level or not. And so that's really nice. And then I've got all kinds of other things like a histogram I can turn on and off. I can actually position this and move it around on the screen. And so there are all kinds of things I can do over here on the right-hand side. So this is a really multi-purpose, not just a review screen, but a touch screen that allows me to control my camera. Well, as you can see, this camera is very fast, it's very high quality, and I just really like it, and I recommend it to you. Again, it's the Panasonic Lumix GX1, and I shot, again, with the Lumix Vario 14-140 f4.0 to 5.8 lens, and the configuration that we used was $1,350, but again, there's kits. So there's the body only, $700. There's the kit with the 14-42 millimeter lens for $780, and then there's the 14-42 with power zoom, and that is a $950 kit. I highly recommend it. I had a lot of fun shooting with this camera, and I think you will too.
This episode is brought to you by Adorama TV. Visit the Adorama Learning Center where you'll find photography tips and techniques, links to the gear used in this episode, and related videos. For all the latest photography, video, and computer gear, visit Adorama.com. And the next time you're in New York City, visit our store located on 18th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue.